There's an old Japanese print called The Great Wave of Kanagawa. Even if you don't know its name, you've definitely seen it in your life. Whether it's through the numerous t-shirts that Uniqlo have printed out, as a Lego set you can hang on your wall, or even the wave emoji that you now see on your phone. To say that the Great Wave is just art would be an understatement. It's a cultural monument, being one of the most reproduced images in human history. A symbol of not only Japan, but the entire idea of Japanese art. And the man behind it, Katsushika Hokusai, was so influential, many historians consider him to be the grandfather of Japanese illustration, influencing the greats like Picasso and Van Gogh. But what you didn't know is that Hokusai was also the same man who pioneered tentacle hentai. Let me explain. Hokusai drew a shunga print called The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife, depicting a traditional Japanese pearl diver being aggressively appreciated by two very enthusiastic octopuses. Some of the dialogue is actually very unhinged that I can't read it without getting demonetized, but I'll paraphrase some of it for you. The large octopus compliments the pearl diver's, let's just say, beauty, which she responds to very enthusiastically. And the little octopus says, "After Daddy finishes, it's my..." Yeah, that's enough. Now, today in Japan, convenience stores sell adult magazines. Entire love hotels are designed for one-night stands. And then there's Tenga, being sold on shelves like it's a bottle of shampoo. And if you know, you know. Meanwhile, in the West, people argue endlessly about whether a character is, I quote, too attractive. But that's missing the point. It's not about sex, but about creators who don't sanitize their interests, who don't filter themselves in their art. So when casual anime fans freak out that the creator of Chainsaw Man, Tatsuki Fujimoto, allegedly based one of his characters, Rize, off a corn star, I can only laugh. Out of all of the weird things Fujimoto has said in the past, this was the one thing that broke the camel's back. But Fujimoto isn't the only perpetrator in this scandal. What if I told you there's a lineage of creators like this? A tradition of gooning that's passed down through generations of mangakas like a family heirloom. If anything, Fujimoto is standing on the shoulders of other gooner giants. Let me introduce to you what I like to call the goon of fame. And the first member we have is Yusuke Murata, the artist for Eyeshield 21 and One Punch Man. He's the man who took One's original webcomic and redrew the characters like they're ancient Greek gods. Every panel he draws looks like he's poured his entire lifespan into it. Just look at this spread of Senna in Eyeshield 21. This is a manga about American football, mind you. Murata doesn't draw scenes, he draws events. And once you understand how insanely passionate Murata is, the eroticism makes sense. In an old interview, Murata was asked if there was anything he struggled with drawing, and his response was, "I used to struggle when I'm drawing Saitama. As for now, I'd say Tatsumaki. I'm not good in drawing lolly. I like drawing thick figures," which is exactly why Murata himself considers Fubuki to be the best girl. He literally prefers drawing characters with her body type, the proportions, the curves, and the thickness. Murata's openly admitted he based Fubuki's proportions off a Japanese AV actress, Julia, even going as far as describing her body, and I quote, like a manga character. So listen, if you suddenly need to take a research break, I get it. Just come back to the video and hey, subscribe to my channel while you're at it. So Murata is one of the most honest creators out there. He sees something he likes and he draws it exactly as it is with no filter. But not every creator lets their interests show up this literally. Sometimes the fixation isn't about the proportions, but about its form. Which brings me to Paru Itagaki, author of Beastars, which, judging from the cover alone, you might think is just another generic furry story. But the anthropomorphic characters aren't an aesthetic choice. Characters in Beastars exist as either a carnivore or a herbivore, which bakes tension into every interaction. The protagonist, Legoshi, is compelling because he's a wolf. Every interaction is shaped by assumptions made about him before he even speaks. These animalistic traits define the pressure these characters live under. And none of this is accidental. Itagaki has openly talked about being interested in anthropomorphic characters. Now, I'm not saying Itagaki is a furry in the terminally online sense people immediately jump to, but artistically, she's been consistent on what she's drawn to. She said in interviews, "Since I was a child, I almost only draw animal characters. I almost never draw human beings." And when you look at her personal sketches, that's exactly what she draws. Itagaki has even mentioned that in her childhood, when she watched The Lion King, she developed a crush on Scar, which in hindsight explains all. But in Beastars, carnivores aren't just feared, but are chemically suppressed to control their biology. Consuming meat is illegal, and society only works by pretending that this repression is enough. But while Itagaki builds her world around restraint, Tatsuki Fujimoto's impulses bleed straight through his work. And that's what makes Fujimoto one of the most revealing creators today. Not because he's the horniest, but because he's the least sanitized. Fujimoto doesn't just put his interests into his works, he puts himself in them. His editor has openly said that Denji's mannerisms in Chainsaw Man are based on Fujimoto himself. His desires for a normal life, comfort, and affection, it's all Fujimoto. Fujimoto has said outright that he likes domineering, irrational women, and that he prefers women being in positions of power over men. This same dynamic is everywhere in Chainsaw Man. All of the female characters that hold power over Denji use him, manipulate him, and hurt him. In fact, Fujimoto has said that Rise was drawn entirely based on his own personal preferences in women, both visually and in mannerisms, even joking that dating someone like her would leave him emotionally scarred for life, which is exactly how Denji feels at the end of the Rise arc. But it's not all about sex. When you read any of other Fujimoto stories like Look Back or Goodbye Eri, the same pattern appears. His insecurities and the way he handles grief all bleed onto the page. Now, occasionally what he portrays may be erotic, but it's never sanitized. That kind of honesty is exactly what powerful art has always been built on. Art isn't meant to be neat. The things that people remember and come back to are usually messy and revealing for the creators themselves. Japan has always understood that. From Shunga prints to Hokusai, eroticism was never treated as something to be ashamed of or to hide away. It was just another part of life that never disappeared in Japanese culture. It evolved with manga and anime. Creators put all of their fixations, fears, and interests straight onto the page, without watering down their creative vision to be more presentable. Hirohiko Araki's obsession with fashion, including experimenting with cross-dressing when he was in high school, directly shaped the character designs that we would see in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Araki didn't chase trends, the designs came from his own tastes. Yoko Taro has openly stated he made 2B attractive in Nier Automata simply because he likes attractive women. And now, 2B is such an iconic character that she's transcended her own series. You see the same honesty in Evangelion. Hideaki Anno put his own anxiety and emotional instability into the characters themselves. Shinji isn't written to be brave or aspirational, he's someone paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. And Evangelion's emotional honesty made it iconic. Iconic enough that it turned Evangelion into a merchandising juggernaut, where you can now buy Evangelion shovels, razors, and buckets. This is just what happens when creators are honest with their art. The moment you start demanding for it to be safer, to fit a worldview, you start stripping away the very thing that made it compelling in the first place. Creators letting their fetishes and fixations shape their work is part of what makes art feel alive. Now, that doesn't mean everything about a creator belongs in the art, and it doesn't mean the art excuses the creator. I'm looking at you, Nobuhiro Watsuki. Anyway, video's over. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.